All right, welcome everyone to our bi-weekly Team Passion call. We have a guest tonight, Jessica. So excited to have you guys hear from Jessica. So I've had the pleasure of hearing her speak at leadership, and I think Summit at one point too. Been around this whole thing for 8.5 years, so I don't know where I see and hear everyone, national wake-up calls, all that good stuff. But Jessica is a 15-star diamond, multi-time elite coach, and she shared her story in our 5-star group a few weeks ago, and she generously offered, if anyone would like me to speak on their team call. And I was like, oh, I'm all over this, because we know that life can kind of get in the way for people, and then the priority of this business sometimes takes a backseat. And so Jessica's going to share her amazing story and lots of tips on how to just pull that all together. So we thank you so much for taking the time tonight and coming on with us. So welcome.
Thanks, love. Thanks, guys. Well, you guys look like a beautiful team. Is it all ladies tonight? Is it ladies' night?
Looks like it.
Nice. I mean, if there is a dude, that's cool too, but I'm talking to my girls then, right? So I'm just going to get comfortable. I'm in my kind of PJ look too, so I'm with you. And I'm pumped just to be able to share this with you. I'm going to get really personal, if that's okay, and just be vulnerable and honest. And I think that that's always a good place to be. We can all probably connect on maybe a deeper level that way. So I'm going to talk about fearless faith tonight. I'm just going to let you know ahead of time that I am a former worship director, and I talk a lot about faith and my faith in God. And if that is not something that you're into, I respect you completely. It's just something that I'm really, really passionate about. But either way, I believe that you're totally going to get something out of this. And that's my prayer anyway. So when I think of being fearless, I'm just going to be honest, just to give you a little background. I am a mom of 2 kids. So my son Isaiah is 5 and he's in kindergarten, and my baby girl is turning 2 years old tomorrow. So that's like crazy. But when I think of being fearless, I think of my son, who will tell you when he grows up, he is going to be a firefighter, a cop. He's going to be Spider-Man, the Red Power Ranger, and he's going to play in the NFL. And guys, for real, he completely 100% believes that this is all going to happen. Like, there's no doubt in his mind. And sometimes when I look at him and I just think, oh my gosh, he's just fearless in his belief. Like, he just gets it. And there's something that tends to happen to a lot of us as we get older and we start to, get these doubts or thoughts in our head that maybe the things that we thought we could do, maybe we can't. And obviously we're not going to be Spider-Man, but there's so many other things in our lives that we think we can aim towards. And then all these fears start to get in the way. And we start to think, I couldn't do that. Or, top coach, why would I be able to do that? Like, that's not in the cards. I'll just try to hit Success Club. That's a good goal, and there's nothing wrong with that goal, by the way. But I think that sometimes we just let those fears take over. So just starting out, when I was a customer, I was just a customer that had lost, about 20 pounds and doing the 21-day fix back in 2014. And I went to a Super Saturday. My coach invited me to a Super Saturday, and I decided to go literally only because they were going to do a group workout. And I loved group workouts. Even working out from home, I would often have friends come over and work out with me, or we would, I ran like a little fitness thing at my church, like absolutely loved doing that. And I remember going there, not really to be inspired, just to do the group workout. And I heard Lindsay Stay speak, and she's now one of my greatest mentors and friends, but she was speaking and her story was inspiring. And I thought, man, this girl has not had an easy life. And she is doing this amazingly well. And maybe, if she could do this, I could do it. And I could connect with her on a faith level. She talked about that and just different stuff. And I thought, okay, this girl is a 7-star diamond coach. I have no clue what that means. But if I do this whole Beachbody thing, I am going to be a 7-star diamond coach. That was like in my head. And now looking back, I realized that I instilled belief in myself before I was even a coach. I like chose to go for big goals before I even knew what they were. So I prayed about it for a couple weeks and decided to go all in. And as you heard, I wasn't going to toe dip because then I wouldn't really know what could be. So I decided to go all in. And, I was a worship director at a large church, probably 1,000 people on a Sunday, if not more. And I was also the director of connections. So I loved people. I love connecting with people. I love relationships. And yet the first time I spoke to anybody about Beachbody, I remember literally shaking. One of my friends wanted to get on the phone and ask me how I had lost some weight and how maybe she could do it too. And I was literally shaking. I was so scared, right? But I think when I look back and look at that now, I don't expect my new coaches not to be nervous. I don't expect new coaches to not have some fears and something new is challenging. But I was fearless in my action. And I learned right off the bat that I might not know all the answers. I might not have it all figured out, but I was going to be fearless in my action from day one. And I'm so thankful because, fast forwarding to where I am now, I realize that taking that action, pouring in, pushing myself to be uncomfortable and realizing that that was the best way to succeed has taught me that growing pains are not the end of the world. In fact, sometimes they can be the best thing for us, even though they're painful. And this past year, well, I guess I should say first, it was a crazy, crazy ride. I mean, from that point, I hit diamond in 24 days, went 2-star in 6 months, went 7-star in 9 months, went 10-star in 1 year, went 15-star in 23 months. And every single month I've ever been in this business, from the first month I started to this day, 4.5 years in, I have never hit anything lower than SC10. And I just went, whew. And I know it sounds like it went like this, but I actually say it went like this and not up, because it was a lot of ups and downs, which really made it like this. And I learned a lot. I missed a lot of goals. I remember when I was going for 10-star, all my diamonds had it locked in, including my second business center and everything. And the next day I woke up and I was a diamond coach. And it was the last day to hold it for a 10-star bonus is like $20,000. And I woke up and I was a diamond coach. And I had lost it all because of 30 PB. Had I just had 30 PB, it was my own fault. I'd been putting everybody through my second business center, and that's another story. But basically over $30, I lost a huge bonus. So I had like lots of heartache, lots of like, oh my gosh moments, because I just moved so fast and I just didn't know everything right away, but I don't regret any of it. I mean, this journey and what it's taught me, and the amazing income of being able from working full-time. And I loved my job at the church, but I had a son that truly God was showing me needed to be my number one ministry. He wasn't getting nearly as much time with me. I worked 50 hours outside the home, which really in ministry was about 60 to 65. And he just wasn't getting my time. He would go, no church, no church. And that broke my heart, because I had a huge heart for ministry and for God. And I was like, what am I doing to my kid? So I asked God to make a way, and Beachbody was the answer. And I really, really 100% believe that. I remember feeling like this is what I have to do. It's not what I need to do. It's not like, it was just what I have to do. This was the next step. And so this past year, a lot of things happened. In 2017, things started to kind of change for me. I had star diamonds making over $1,000 a week. I had a few star diamonds and 2 stars, and quit and go to another business because, BOD launched and they just didn't see Beachbody having a future, which is so silly. Aren't you guys like so thankful for Beachbody On Demand and our VIP launches and all of that? It's interesting because I really lost like diamonds. I lost star diamonds to the wine company and other businesses that honestly I don't hear too much about anymore. But every single one of those coaches that left my team for something else is no longer with the company that they left for. And I think when I look at that, I always think prosper where you're planted. If you are on this call and you're a coach, you are in this for a reason right now. Like this season, you are called to coaching. And I don't think it is just for a minor purpose. I think that there's a bigger reason why. And what we get to do, like, it's incredible, right? Like, we have a responsibility to share this amazing thing, whether it's the business, whether it's, I went on to lose 60 pounds as a coach. It has changed my life. And I'm so thankful for the sisterhood and the tribe that my team is to me, family. I don't have a very large team. And to be honest with you, I went 15-star with only about 30 coaches in my first business center, which is the exact number you have to qualify for 15. I didn't have hundreds of people. I mean, usually when I've talked to other 15-star diamond coaches, they have like over 100 coaches in their first business center and just all this stuff. And I don't. I had 30, and I ranged between 25 and 30 coaches in that business center. And so I never had a big team, but the team that I have now is like, they're like family. They're my sisters, and I wouldn't give it up for anything. But that was really difficult for me in 2017. And then in October 2017, I saw a huge, huge wave in my personal life. It was kind of like the season where a lot of people would think that I lost everything. And to be honest with you, at the time, it felt like that. Now I can look back on it and I don't feel that way, but I did. I found out in a series of 48 hours, no joke. I'd been praying. Things didn't seem quite right with my spouse. And I found out in a matter of 48 hours that my husband had been living a whole nother life and had a complete different identity, a different name, a different birth date, a different driver's license. My whole world was turned upside down. This was supposed to be my best friend. And I had lost a lot of best friends. It's not like if somebody left my team, we weren't friends anymore or anything like that, but it's not the same as when you're working together day in and day out. And then this was the father of my two kids. I had a 9-month-old daughter at the time. It just rocked my world. And to be honest with you, I was really scared. I didn't know who this was. I found in the same day, I was cleaning and I found an iPad that I didn't know existed and found multiple affairs, just multiple affairs on that iPad. Who I was married to was literally a completely different person. And the thing is that it had started to blend and I was starting to see it and my discernment was all over it, but I just couldn't figure it out. I remember pleading with God, like, show me what is going on, like, what is wrong? I don't get this. And I've really always been a single mom, just to be honest. My life really hasn't changed that much, which is kind of crazy. I mean, it has. Trust me, I'll get there. But in that moment, like, my heart was just more broken than anything. I prayed for my marriage daily, not exaggerating. I had tried to go to counseling when I felt like things weren't right, and I was told no, and he wouldn't go. And everything just felt broken. And when I confronted him on it, I had to get a restraining order because some really bad events happened. My kids saw things that kids, especially a 4-year-old at the time, should never see. And it was heartbreaking. It was heartbreaking. I found myself going to court, in and out of court every other month for a restraining order. And then I had to go forward with divorce proceedings, and which was actually more, that was really him that really wanted that too. And so it was just like, I know that sounds crazy, but I really still wanted it to work. And I'm so glad it didn't. That sounds weird, but I'll get there. But, I just was in and out every other month. I ended up with $100,000 in debt of attorney fees. And through people leaving my team and through losing diamonds and star diamonds, my income had gone a little bit lower than half of what it had been. And I also went from having 2 incomes in a household to having 1, which was, I made 95% of our income, or I'm sorry, I meant to say 85% of our income. So like, I still made most of it, but there was always that cushion. And then my income went down. And in the beginning of 2017, we bought our dream home. So like any of those 15-star bonuses I had made before my rank dropped, I had put into help paying for a home. And my dream home, like, I was so excited about it. And I honestly went from having, making six figures a year to, with coaching, to like paying everything paycheck to paycheck again. Going from being debt free to having debt. I mean, it's hard to even talk about because it's just like, I mean, I don't have any pride. No pride anymore. It's gone. But it's just like, I can't believe that all of that happened, And in the divorce, because I made 85% of our income when we went to mediation, I was told that I had to take on debt that I didn't even know existed. Credit card debt I didn't even know existed. I had to take it on because I basically compromised with that so I could have full physical custody and the majority of the parenting time. That was really important to me. All I wanted was my kids. Are you guys moms? Some of you guys are moms. Okay, so all that I wanted was my kids. That's all I wanted. And so I found myself in this place of like major debt. I couldn't do much with my business at different moments, but what I could do is give everything I could when I could. And I had built my business, the foundation of my business, working 50 hours a week outside the home. So I had gotten up early, I had gone to bed late, and I would work on my lunch break. And that was something I could do again. I could do that. It wasn't, I was determined to not have to get another job. I was determined to make coaching work. And to be honest, my kids needed it. They needed it. They needed me. They needed that income. We needed it. The last thing I needed was for my kids to for us to lose our house or something. I mean, that was like the one thing that was still stable. So I fought for my business. And every month I still hit SC10 or more. It wasn't what I could give when I was going for 15 star, but it was enough because I showed up. I posted. I was vulnerable. I was never fake. I always talked about I was going through a hard time. I didn't give details until it was appropriate, until I was at a place where I was ready to share with a pure heart. But I was vulnerable and I let people know I was going through hell. But I was going to choose joy and I was going to give it my all. And thank God for Beachbody, because I am somebody who naturally gains weight by looking at pizza. Okay, I glance at it and I will gain 10 pounds. That is just my body type, right? Because of Beachbody, I didn't lose any weight last year, but I lost some, but it was some that I had gained a little bit back, and then I lost it doing 2B mindset. Overall, I didn't lose any weight, but I didn't gain it. Overall, I just stayed the same. And you know what? That was a huge win for me. And I don't look at it as wow, because I still, I've lost 60 pounds. I still have 20 to 30 pounds to lose. And man, I'm going for it. But, it's one of those things where I didn't feel like I had missed out or, I felt good that I just didn't gain it. That was a plus. So what I learned is that I could be fearless in my action and that nobody had an advantage on time. And what I mean by that is that everybody has 24 hours in a day, right? So you have 24 hours in a day. I have 24 hours in a day. Nobody has an advantage on time. Maybe not everybody was in court. Maybe not everybody was going through the personal hell I was going through. But I knew that I could work with what I had. And so when my kids would go to bed, I would snuggle them and lay with them. And sometimes, I'll be honest, I just fell asleep with them, holding them. And I'm okay with that. But when I could, I worked my butt off. And it was worth it. And I just remember thinking, I've done this before, I'm going to do it again. And so I gave it my all. And I remember driving to court. I remember going to the courthouse and going and having all my papers to fight for my kids. And this isn't to say that Beachbody was an idol, because it wasn't. But on the way to the courthouse, I was selling challenge packs. I was doing phone calls with people on my Bluetooth while I was driving to the courthouse selling challenge packs. That was the fact that I had the freedom to be able to not take time off work and go to court and fight for my kids and have that emotional capacity and still be able to work on the way there is amazing to me. That's amazing that I was able to do that, right? And it's because Beachbody gives us that freedom. So I went on to, in April, actually, I found out that there's a little curve. I had to get a double mastectomy and reconstruction surgery. So I was going through this hell on earth, and then I found out I had to get that. And guys, that's emotional. Like, I don't know if you've ever been through that, but like, it's just emotional, like to have to go through that. And then it was talk about, again, being humbled. I got out of that surgery and I had to have neighbors help me drive, bathe my kids. I couldn't pick up my 1-year-old for like 4 to 6 weeks. I mean, it was really, really hard. And To Be Mindset launched on May 2nd, and my surgery was on May 9th. And I remember just prepping and prepping and prepping for it, knowing that my surgery was coming up. And I only had a month to really prepare because I didn't know I was going to have surgery until a month before. And I hit SC54 in the first 7 days of that month, just preparing and planning and giving it my all. And honestly, I didn't do that much for the rest of the month. Like, that was like, I hit SC54 that month, but I had planned and like had set appointments with people to send links when it launched. And I had done all of that. So like literally that first week, all my inviting was like wrapped up, and then I could have surgery and just try to figure out life because it was crazy. And then in June, I went to Summit, and that same weekend was also emotional. It was my first year not being elite, and I missed elite by 4 points that December in 2017, and I just had a restraining order, and I had given all I could, and I missed it by 4 points. And so that was hard, and then my divorce was finalized at Summit. So, like, I got the email and everything while I was at Summit. So it was just like, is this my life? Like, what is happening? And then in July, my son came home from being with his dad, and he said, Mom, there's something so weird. I was at Dad's house, and there was another little girl there calling him Daddy. Like, that's weird, right? And through hiring a private investigator and working closely to figure something out, because I saw a picture, and I knew that that was his child. And through my private investigator, I figured out that he had had a whole nother family under his other identity. He had kids with this other woman who are older, like, than my daughter. One is older than my daughter. The other one was a baby. And I was like a puddle all over again. Like, how could I have been like so clueless? How could I have, Satan just gets in my head of like, you weren't good enough. You're not worthy. You are stupid that you couldn't figure that out. Just all these things. But I decided to fight. And I felt like God was telling me I needed to move to Florida. I lived in Minnesota, and my dad, who, my mom died of breast cancer about 10 years ago. So my dad is a doctor, and he lives down here in Florida. And I just kept on, saying how bad he wanted the kids and I to be able to be around him so he could like help me with the kids and just be a godly man example for my children. And sorry, the printer is going off behind me. I hope you guys can hear me okay. But I just kept on feeling like God was saying, you're going to move to Florida. And I had sat about 2 months prior, I'd sat in mediation and had been told that I could never move, that without my former spouse's consent, I could never move. Like, he, even though I had the majority of parenting time and I had full physical custody, he still had like 30% parenting time. So I wouldn't be able to go anywhere. And unless he agreed. And so I just said, okay, God, if you want me to move to Florida, I'm just gonna, I'm not gonna sit and worry about it. I'm gonna give it to you and let him suggest it. Because remember, I had my dream home. I had my community. I had the best neighborhood on the planet of people that helped me with my children, that loved me. I had 2 cops that lived next door to me that helped me get my restraining order, that walked me through the domestic abuse department, that testified for me in court. It was amazing. And through all of that, through stipulations and different things that the judge put in place, he still was able eventually to get parenting time. So I was parenting with somebody I was completely afraid of, and I just felt so convicted that I needed to get my kids as far away as possible. And so I just said, let it be his suggestion. So I was going to sue him for fraud because he had other children with a woman. And I figured out that, remember all that debt that I took on besides the attorney debt? I figured it out when I went through my finances and that credit card, that it was most likely going to pay for this other family. So with my Beachbody money of making 85% of our income, I was paying for a whole nother family. And I knew that there was holes in our finances, but there was like always an excuse. And, you know, I mean, not to be naive, but being pure of heart, I really truly like would believe that I had no reason to not believe that that was true. So, anyway, so I was going to sue him for fraud. And so he asked me to meet with him, and I was doing a subpoena for, what's it called? Paternity tests, all that kind of stuff. And so I met with him, and he basically admitted everything and said, what do you want? And I just said, I just need to be away from you. I just need to be away. I feel like you're not mentally stable. I'm praying for you and I care about you, but you need help and I can't be that help. And you're in no shape to be a parent. Your kids have to come first. And he said, okay, so why don't you move to Florida? And I thought, wow. So I had prayed that God would make a way for me to go to Florida. And he goes, why don't you move to Florida? Is that what you want? And I said, okay. And he said, okay. And then he tried to make me pay him a bunch of money, and I didn't do it. I knew in that moment that I was supposed to go. I knew that. And so I said, no, I'm not going to pay you anything. I'm going to go to Florida and I'm going to live there and you're going to sign off on it. And so that next couple of days, I went to Florida. I enrolled my son out of faith. We had no agreement. I enrolled him in school here. I signed my little daughter up for some childcare so I could work on my Beachbody business more once I moved. And I just, by the time I left that week, we had a signed agreement and I was moving to Florida. So in August, I moved down here. I sold my home in 6 days. Thank you, Jesus. It helped pay for a good portion of any debt that I had accumulated because I made a profit on it and I was the only one that got to keep that, which is awesome. So I moved, and I moved down here with 4 suitcases. I have everything up in Minnesota in a storage unit. All my furniture that I still kept, I sold a lot of it and gave a lot of it away. But I'm here. And so I came in August, and in October I was at leadership. And Lindsay Stay, my mentor, asked me, so are you going for elite? Like, where are you at? And I was like, I don't even know. I mean, like, it was such a weird year. And I found myself first time in my business doubting it. First time doubting myself. Even through everything I'd been through, I had always hit SC10 at least. I had always gone forward. But when I was asked that question, I was like stuttering. So I looked at my points, and I had points, but not enough. And I didn't have any diamonds from this year. My recruiting game had been pretty low. But I looked at her and I said, yeah, I'm going for it. I just made that decision. I felt like God was saying, yeah, do it. And so I almost like didn't want to go for it because I knew it was going to be like a year-long push in like 3 months and it was going to be really hard. But I went back to my team and I said, guys, do you want to do this? Because you know you can't do it without your team. And they said, yeah, we really want to do this. And I said, okay. So I started working early mornings, going to bed really, really late nights, and working all day long and just giving it my all. I have a lot of coaches on Pacific Standard Time and I'm on Eastern Time. And I was doing calls at 11 p.m. at night so that they could talk at like 8 p.m. I would just do whatever I could. And in November, I had a sneak peek where I signed up 2 business coaches, not 50, not 100, 2. And on December 20th, one of those coaches and another one of my coaches popped diamond. And on December 31st at 5 p.m., we had exactly 105 elite points, and we became an elite 2019 team. And I'm just going to be honest, you guys, it felt so good. It felt better than 15-star. It felt better than any other time I'd been elite. It felt so good because I knew that like we had come together. We had worked so hard for it. And in a year that was just so, God just said, this is the part of the newness. This is part of the restoration. This is the new beginning. And what it taught me is that you know, even if I had to affirm myself, you know, with fearless belief of sitting in my car screaming, God, I trust you, by myself, by the way, not with my kids in there, but just screaming, you know, like, God, I trust you. Like, if that's what it took, I was gonna do whatever I could to just do my absolute best. And I've missed goals, like I said before. I mean, I wanted to be superstar diamond by September 2015, and I hit it in June 2016. Not mad about that, but I mean, you know, I mean, it was a good 9 months of like missing the goal and missing the goal, but just keeping it going. And this was like, I felt like we had won the Olympics. You know, it was just amazing. And so I say all that because, again, I 100% believe that we're all called to this for a purpose. And I know that, like, now, by the way, my income is not back up to where it was, but it's double of where it went down to. So that's great. I'm getting back up there. I feel like, you know, my kids are more happy than they've ever been. It's like this oppression was lifted. I don't feel like I went through hell as much as I feel rescued. And I just feel like I could have been through that for 30 years and I was rescued. It was only 10. And you know, we have a choice. We don't always get to choose what happens to us. But I learned through this that with coaching, I could be a blessing to other people no matter what was happening in my life. No matter what was going on, no matter what was happening, no matter what cards I got dealt that I didn't choose. I never wanted to be a part-time parent. And there was a small season of my life where I was a part-time parent, and it was so unfair because I would have never chosen that. I was faithful, right? Like, sometimes those things happen though, and we can't always control it, but we can control what we choose to do with our circumstance. I could have been bitter. I could still be bitter. I could have thrown in the towel on coaching. I've seen coaches quit for a lot less. I could have just, you know, but just the fact that I was able to finally learn and take captive those thoughts showed me that, like, I don't know what's ahead. It's probably not the only season in my life that's probably going to be painful. I don't know what's ahead. But I know that whether it's coaching or anything else, I know that I can still be a blessing to other people. And when you lead with that, it changed my heart. Like, it changed my heart towards my challengers. I pray for my challengers and my coaches in a different way with just a different compassion. I pray, I mean, my prayer hasn't changed for them. I pray that God would bless them and protect them and use us all as a light. But, like, it changed in my compassion meter. Like, when somebody is really struggling or going through crap, my heart is totally different. It's just like, it's not like, oh, you know, excuses. It is like, I totally just want to hug you. You know, like, it's not a weakness. It's like, let me come alongside you. We're going to do this together. And I made this list. I'm going to read it to you guys. And this is not a pity party list. Let me just share that, okay? This is not a pity party list. This is a list that just kind of helped me recognize a little bit more of what I had been through as a coach and what's possible and what we're able to endure. So I just want you guys, like, where you're at, if your camera's on, just raise your hand. And if any of this applies to you, like if you hear something that you can relate to or has been part of your life, put your hand down, okay? So, because I think it will just, having that visual will just kind of show us. So put your hand down if you've ever had 60 pounds or more to lose, okay? You went through pregnancy and had a baby while coaching. You have had an anxiety disorder while coaching. You have struggled with an eating disorder like binge eating even or whatever while coaching. You were told that coaching was morally wrong. Anybody ever have that happen to them? This has happened to me too. If you have ever moved 4 times in 4 years or every year you've been a coach. I've moved every year I've been a coach. Moving sucks. Can we just say that? Like, moving is really hard. Emotionally, physically, it's so draining. I never want to move again, and I know I'm going to have to at some point. If you have had 3 or more close relatives die within 3 years of coaching, or with how many years that you've been a coach, I've had that happen to me. If you have ever had to get a restraining order against someone you lived with or loved? So if you have had to do that, you can put your hand down. My hand should have been down this whole time. Sorry, guys. You were told you had to be a part-time mom. You were told you were worthless multiple times a day. You were told you were fat by someone you love repeatedly. You've moved across the country in a matter of a week while coaching. You had a double mastectomy or a major surgery while being a coach. You've been diagnosed with attention deficit disorder as a coach. You lost $20,000 to $100,000 in bonuses over something very simple. You were chastised in a social media group of leaders for being a fast grower in the company, saying that you must be doing something wrong. You were fat shamed on a before and after picture. You were told to get a real job because that little coach thing that you're doing is really cute, but it's not something you could make a career out of. Those are all things that I can think of, and the list goes on. I have more, but those are the main 20 things that I think of when I think about just overcoming adversity as through my coaching career. And man, am I so thankful that those circumstances never stopped me. You know, the enemy is always going to try to get in our heads. He's always going to tell us that things are, that life would be better if you weren't coaching. Life would be better if you weren't helping people on a daily basis. Of course, he's going to tell you that. The best black eye that you can give him is just pouring into what you know is right and doing your absolute best. When all he wants you to do is fail, you just succeed. And if you're a mom, I hear way too many coaches let their kids be their excuse to fail when they should really be their reason to succeed. Pour in to where you're planted, prosper where you're planted, and do it with fearless faith, fearless belief, because really, you truly cannot fail when you do that. That's all I got for you guys. Do you have any questions for me at all or anything? I never watch the chat while I'm talking because I just get really sidetracked.
Thank you. First of all, just thank you. My goodness. Thank you. Just wow. And thank you for giving your heart to us tonight as complete strangers and using, your voice and the blessing to share with us. We truly appreciate it.
Thank you. Well, thank you guys for your comments, and Becky, I'm so glad your sister is a survivor. That's amazing. And whatever you're called to lead with, do it boldly. I have a lot of people that tell me that they're afraid to lead with faith if that's your thing. Maybe your thing is something totally different, but just be who you are. You're going to attract what you put out there anyway, so you might as well just be you if you want to work with a bunch of coaches like you. So that's what I do, and it's worked really, really well for me. And it's nice because you don't have to pretend to be someone you're not,
So true. Yes.
Cool. Well, thank you guys for letting me share with you tonight. I'm gonna go snuggle my little guy. He's been having a hard time going to bed, so I'm gonna go snuggle him for a little bit.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Awesome. All right. Well, thanks, you guys. And if you think of any questions, go ahead and message me.
All right. Thanks.
All right. Have a good night, guys.
Night.
Bye.